lectures are titled Biology and Human Behavior, the Neurological Origins of Individuality, Part 1. The lecturer is Professor Robert Sapolsky. Professor Sapolsky holds the John A. and Cynthia Fry Gunn Professorship of Biological Sciences at Stanford University, where he is also Professor of Neurology and Neurosurgery. He received his A.B. degree summa cum laude in biological anthropology from Harvard University and earned his Ph.D. in neuroendocrinology from the Rockefeller University in New York. He is also a research associate at the Institute of Primate Research, operated by the National Museums of Kenya in Nairobi. Professor Sapolsky is the author of many books, including Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, A Guide to Stress, Stress-Related Diseases, and Coping, 3rd edition. A Primate's Memoir, and Monkey Love and Other Essays on Our Lives as Animals. He also writes regularly for such publications as Scientific American, Discover, Natural History, and The New Yorker. Professor Sapolsky is a recipient of many honors and awards, including the National Science Foundation Presidential Young Investigator Award, Stanford University's Bing Award for Teaching Excellence, and an Outstanding Teaching Award from the Associated Students of Stanford University. He is also a recipient of the MacArthur Foundation's Genius Fellowship, the Alfred P. Sloan Fellowship, and the Klingenstein Fellowship in Neuroscience. Professor Sapolsky prepared the course guide that comes with these lectures. The course guide includes a detailed outline of each lecture, a glossary, a timeline, biographical notes, and bibliography. To get the most out of this course, you may find it useful to follow along with the outlines or review them before or after each lecture. Lecture 1, Biology and Behavior, an Introduction.
Hello, my name is Robert Sapolsky. I'm a professor of neurobiology at Stanford University, and I'm very pleased to be doing this course because, not surprisingly, I think this is a subject that is so important. Every child and adult in America should be forced to learn about this. And it's basically trying to understand the biology of what makes us who we are, the biology of our individual differences, the biology of our behaviors, what I believe is an incredibly important subject for every one of us to study. Okay, to begin with, let me give you a scenario that should catch your attention. And it involves two hypothetical individuals. First one is Chuck. Chuck is in marketing. Chuck is extroverted, charismatic, life of the party in this superficial sort of way. He's confident, he's flirtatious, he's having some fidelity problems with his third marriage right now. In contrast, we've got Arthur. Arthur is down in marketing. He's obsessive. He's rigidly ethical, sufficiently so the people at the IRS wonder what's up with this guy. He's extremely reliable at work as a result. He is regularly exploited by his coworkers. He lives alone. He spends his evenings making model ships and airplanes. However, there have been some changes in Chuck and Arthur recently. Chuck, bizarrely, is suddenly getting more introverted. He's getting more withdrawn. He's getting less talkative, long periods of silence that are beginning to make his customers very uncomfortable, and within a few months it's going to cost him his job. Most bizarre, from out of nowhere, he has developed this obsession with painting. He is now painting every spare moment, and these are dark, brooding canvases that he can't begin to explain. Meanwhile, Arthur has been having some changes as well. He's starting to tell sexual jokes. And this is initially sort of puzzling and amusing to his coworkers, but lately they've been getting a little bit beyond the edge, a little bit inappropriate. He is taken to stalking women. Within a month or so, it is going to get him into trouble with the law for the first time when he exposes himself. What is remarkable is that within a year or so, both of these men are going to be institutionalized. What is going on here? Are they having horrendous midlife crises? Is there satanic possession? Are they psychiatrically disturbed? Remarkably, each one of these men has a mutation, a single gene mutation, giving rise to a neurological disorder where these are among the first symptoms. And most amazingly, they've got the exact same mutation. So we're suddenly stuck with this major puzzle. Where's this coming from? What do we make of the fact that we can be so determined by our genes that this could change these men's personalities? What do we make of the fact that we are so freed from our genes that this same exact mutation could produce such incredibly different changes in these two men? What do we make of the fact that we're beginning to understand the biology of what goes wrong in a case like this? And we're beginning to understand the biology of even far more subtle states. We're beginning to grasp something about the brain anatomy that may have something to do with our sexual orientations. Amazingly, there is a type of neurological disorder where one of the most consistent side effects is you develop this passionate interest in philosophy and religion. What do we do about the fact that recently scientists have figured out a way to change the brain chemistry of a male rodent and turn him from being polygamous into monogamous? And it's not clear if this counts as a intervention or if this counts as a therapeutic sort of issue that we should be trying out on human males. What do we make of the fact that we are beginning to develop a biology that explains our tastes, our personalities, how we vote, what foods we like, who we love, and how faithful we are to them? What do we do with the fact that we are beginning to get a biology of what makes us who we are? Now, in trying to think about this here in this course, we are taking this on in a very particularly challenging way. It is trivial, relatively, to figure out how some migratory bird figures out how to get to Tierra del Fuego at a certain time of year, what the biology of migration is, or how come biologically all the wildebeest in the Serengeti ovulate the same week. That's easy. That's easy in comparison to what we're trying to figure out here, which is the biology of human behavior. The biology of why some humans behave differently than others, and most challengingly, the biology of where do some of our most damaging, most frightening, most inappropriate behaviors come from. Now, this is not easy to go after. And we tend to have a way to deal with a complex subject like this. What is the biology of our behavior? We tend to think about it to approach the subject with a certain cognitive style. Essentially what we do is we think categorically. We try to come up with labels. We try to come up with buckets of explanation. Here is a genetic explanation. Here is an environmental one. Here is a hormonal one. Here is and we hang on to that bucket as our explanatory model. And it's not surprising we think that way. For a very simple reason, categorical thinking helps our memory in certain realms. Let me give you an example here. Here we have a diagram of the visual spectrum. Visual spectrum, the colors we can see, starting at violet at one end, red at the other, classic sort of rainbow with this continuum of color where there's no obvious transition where you go from yellow to orange or orange to red. There's no obvious transition, but there's something we do in every single language on earth, which is we impose an artificial boundary. We say, okay, here's a category. Here's another category. We break it up from this point to this point. We suddenly change color terms. Everything in here we call one color, everything in here another. And what's most important is from one language to the next, the boundaries are put in different places for these color terms. Why do we put these color terms with boundaries? Turns out it helps our memory. Classic sort of studies, you show somebody a color, and if that color comes from right in the middle of their color category versus right on the boundary between two different colors, people remember the colors better from the middle of their category. Yes, they showed me that red before. I'm not sure if I saw that yellowish green thing or not. When we think categorically,